60 of them. Each one is a unique family, and each one can be bred forward into the future.
But what on earth would happen if one of these monster salmon escaped and swam off to breed with ordinary fish?
The concerns that the transgene is out there and there's no calling it back, you've changed the world forever. Now, in point of fact, the fish are sterile, they can't breed at all. There's no possibility of a transgene that exists in an Atlantic salmon escaping from the species.
So because the salmon are sterile, Joe's certain there's no danger of the gene getting out and causing chaos.
Novelists get paid for imagining those kinds of things. Fish breeders get paid for producing a fish that can provide food into the future without the problems of over-harvesting stocks that will frankly disappear if we keep hitting them.
Here on the farm, super salmon aren't the only genetically modified animals that could help save the environment. For our next appointment, we're heading to the pigsty to meet some creatures who could help us out of a sticky situation.
I like bacon as much as the next person, but the amount of pork we eat is causing serious problems. Last year, we killed more than 2 billion pigs, and these creatures provide more dietary protein, more cheaply, to more people than any other animal. But all this consumption comes at a cost.
Animal agriculture is a major consumer of the natural environment. That is, the impacts on the atmosphere, upon water utilization, and in particular, pig agriculture or hog agriculture produces copious amounts of manure.
Manure, it's a natural product, but on an industrial scale, it's a serious environmental pollutant. And poo from pigs is particularly toxic.
Pig manure has a very high level of phosphorus within it from normal diets through normal pigs. And that phosphorus usually is more than is required by crops produced on land fertilized with pig manure.
Pig manure is packed with phosphorus because pigs simply can't digest it. And this excess is causing some serious damage. It runs off into the water supply, causing the overgrowth of algae and killing fish. It seems an impossible problem of biology, but John Phillips has found a way to fix it.
A very simple and effective solution to the environmental problems caused by high phosphorus pig manure found right behind these doors.
To tackle the problem, John has created something he calls the EnviroPig. This animal looks normal, but it's anything but.
These pigs are unlike any other pigs in the world. They're different because they carry a very special gene that allows them to digest all of the phosphorus in their diet. The gene is constructed in the laboratory that we use.
The remarkable thing about the EnviroPigs is that they carry a man-made gene, which John has created from scratch.
One part comes from E. coli bacteria, which produces an enzyme that can break down phosphorus. And the other comes from a mouse, which produces a genetic switch that allows this special enzyme to be made in saliva. These two bits of DNA were combined to form a new compound gene, which was then inserted into a fertilized pig egg. Now every time John's pigs eat and produce saliva, they also make the phosphorus-busting enzyme, helping to make their poo more environmentally friendly.
The aim, ultimately, we think, is that the global environment would be best served if every pig could digest all of its organic phosphorus in its diet the way these pigs do.
So John wants every pig in the world to be an EnviroPig. I think it's an idea with merit, but he's encountered a lot of obstacles.
There are many people out in the community that do have concerns about transgenic changes in animals, and some of these people have gone about intentionally frightening the public about this technology. So we have an uphill battle in terms of people's perceptions. This is an effective way of dealing with a serious environmental problem. It's simple, it can be propagated very rapidly. Any other technology cannot touch this in terms of the rapidity of its application on the farm or the extent of the change that can occur as a result of the technology. Nothing comes close to this.
All over the farm, scientists are discovering that genetic modification is an immensely powerful tool. But it's also a controversial one. Olivia Judson is convinced that we shouldn't be afraid of it.
I personally would much rather eat an organism that has been genetically modified to grow fast than one that has been injected with a lot of hormones to grow fast. I certainly would have no objection to eating an animal that has been genetically modified. I mean, what is a gene? It's an instruction to make a protein. It's not anything mystical.
I think to a lot of people it probably is something mystical.
But it's not. I mean, there's nothing mystical about a gene. We know what it is, we can describe it, we can build them. There is nothing mysterious, and all it does is contain the instruction for making a protein. You know, you add one, you take one away, so what?
But having understood how it works, to then start changing it and meddling with it, is another step, isn't it?
Well, we already have. I mean, nothing in this countryside, in this landscape, is natural. It's been modified by us. We haven't done it precisely, but we certainly have altered which sheep are growing, which grass is growing. We just don't have such a thing as a natural landscape in most of the world. I mean, it's just complete, you know, it's a fantasy. We've created it.
What Giles and so many other people don't seem to appreciate is that genetic engineering is one of the most highly regulated technologies in the world. It's so highly regulated that even when GM could really help save lives, we're not allowed to use it. Absurdly, this greenhouse is classed as a biohazard containment facility, the sort of thing where you'd keep a sample from Mars. To stop what some people call genetic pollution, cross-pollination, none of these plants are allowed into the open air for a moment. But inside are simply new strains of the crops billions of people eat every day. What's more, every cutting is meticulously catalogued and recorded. The point is, scientists working here have been trying to cure a condition that kills 2.5 million people a year. Vitamin A deficiency. It's a huge problem. Half the world population gets almost all their nutrition from rice. But unfortunately, rice doesn't have in it a set of simple chemicals called carotenoids. That's the stuff that gives colour to vegetables like carrots and peppers. Our bodies use carotenoids from vegetables to make vitamin A. And if you don't get enough vitamin A, you have real problems.
Vitamin A deficiency suppresses the immune system, but before it does that, it makes individuals blind. Most of the children who are affected are less than 5. Most of them die within 2 years of becoming blind. People suffering from vitamin A deficiency die from diseases which healthy people can survive. So vitamin A deficiency kills 2.5 million people a year. That's equivalent to a 9/11 every 12 hours, to a tsunami every month, to 250 people dying during the course of a 1-hour television program.
So the scientists set to work to see if they could manage to make rice high in vitamin A by persuading it to produce the carotenoids. Their science was pioneering. They identified not 1 or 2, but 3 genes. 2 from the daffodil and 1 from a bacteria, which they thought would help produce carotenoids. They then tried to insert all 3 of these into rice DNA. In 1999, after years of trial and error, they finally managed to create rice that produced beta-carotene. They could tell that this was being produced because the genetically engineered rice was colored yellow. They christened it golden rice.
That was amazing science. It still is amazing science. At the time, no other genetically modified plant had more than 1 gene expressing. They put 3 in and turned on a pathway.
It's been a long road to perfect their plants. But now, a bowl of golden rice can provide an individual with enough vitamin A to meet their daily needs. But absurdly, golden rice is still locked in greenhouses like this. Dr. Adrian Duboc finds this completely frustrating, and I can understand why.
Genes occur in all the food we eat. They occur in all organisms. Biology is a most powerful tool, and there's nothing to be frightened of in this technology. The history shows it's extremely safe. It's the most regulated technology of any technology that's ever been introduced. So how can rich people in Europe stand in the way of choice for poor people in the developing world, especially when standing in the way of that choice kills them?
Golden rice sums up what I find so frustrating. There may be issues about who exploits this technology, and there have been worries about cross-pollination. But the basic underlying fear remains irrational. The science at the heart of this is so effective, and the plant scientists who've made the breakthroughs are trying to make the world a better place.
Once scientists have gone to the trouble of improving on evolution, either through GM or traditional breeding, the next question is how to preserve their success. And now we get to the most extraordinary technique scientists are using on our farm. Cloning. You've probably heard of Dolly the sheep, but what you may not know is that since then, scientists have created whole herds of cloned cows, pigs, and flocks of sheep. For our next stop, we're going to meet the prize-winning herd of longhorn cattle, an entire paddock of clones.
The adult cows are